Darkness. It is not merely the absence of light, but a presence all its own. Thick, suffocating, and ancient. It clings to the shattered marble of the ruined throne room, seeping into every crack and crevice, as if the stones themselves remember the agony of their fall. The wind howls through broken arches, carrying the dust of ages and the scent of forgotten sorrows. Each gust stirs memories, swirling them through the empty halls like restless spirits. Listen closely. There's more than wind here. There are whispers, stories carried on the breath of ghosts. Their voices echo, soft and persistent, weaving tales of what once was. They speak of power, pride, and a king who reached for divinity and found only damnation. His ambition was boundless, his fall inevitable. In the center, a sliver of moonlight falls on a twisted, blackened crown, its spires bent, a single obsidian gem pulsing with malevolent energy. Crown seems to breathe, alive with the weight of its own curse. This is the crown of sorrows, the tombstone of a kingdom. It is both relic and warning, a monument to ruin. The whispers swirl, voices of the lost and betrayed, repeating a name, King Theron, last king of Ezallora. Their lament is endless, their pain undimmed by time. Once a name of glory, now a byword for madness. His legacy is a shadow that stains every stone. He wore this crown, believing it would make him a god. Instead, it unmade him, leaving only a monster, one whose memory haunts these halls. The crown waits, patient, uncaring of time, a vessel of unending grief. It is a silent sentinel, watching as centuries pass. It promises power and glory, but it always lies. Its gifts are poison, its promises a trap for the desperate and the proud. This is where our story begins, and where it ended for so many. The echoes of their choices linger, shaping the fate of all who enter. The whispers are waiting for another soul, hungry enough to claim the curse. In the silence, the kingdom holds its breath, and the darkness waits to see who will answer. Once Ezallora was a beacon. Towers of white limestone, fields of green, rivers clear as glass. The royal line of Eridor ruled with justice for 1,000 years. King Theron in his youth was everything a king should be. Under his early reign, Ezallora flourished. Trade, peace, and prosperity seemed eternal, but peace bred pride. Theron began to see his kingdom not as a legacy, but as a foundation for something greater. Obsessed with defying time, he sought forbidden magics, ancient texts, and mystics. He no longer wished to be a great king, he wanted to be a god. This ambition became a sickness. He grew distant, suspicious, dismissive of tradition. The court's laughter faded, replaced by whispers of fear. The king who was once Ezallora's son became its eclipse, casting a cold shadow over all. His quest for immortality would demand a terrible price from those he had sworn to protect. Theron's obsession led him to the sunken archives, where he found a ritual from a civilization destroyed by its own hubris. The ritual called for a crown forged with star iron, desire, and a piece of the ruler's soul. He gathered the kingdom's greatest smiths, hiding the true nature of their task. Into the crucible he added dark ingredients, a widow's tear, a traitor's blood, a forbidden name. As the smiths hammered, Theron poured his ambition and pride into the metal. The crown was beautiful, but cold and predatory. The moment he wore it, he felt power, but it was a violation, not a bond. The crown amplified his paranoia and pride, turning him into a tyrant. It was not a gift, but a curse, feeding on his madness, twisting his intentions. Theron became the crown's first prisoner, and the kingdom was bound to his insanity. The curse was now embedded in the crown, waiting for its next victim. With the cursed crown, Theron's reign became a nightmare. Ezallora's colors faded. The king became a tyrant, issuing cruel decrees and seeing enemies everywhere. The curse seeped into the land. Fields withered, rivers darkened, and madness spread among the people. Friendships soured, trust vanished, and the kingdom's spirit died from the head down. The breaking point, Theron accused his own brother, Lord Kael, of treason. Heartbroken, Kael raised a rebellion, not for power but to save Ezallora. Civil war erupted, brother against brother, the land soaked in blood. Theron, empowered by the crown, was a terror on the battlefield, but his armies fractured. In the final siege, Kael confronted Theron in the throne room. Theron fell, the crown breaking from his head, its magic shattering the throne and castle. The king was dead, but the curse lived on, now trapped in the broken crown. The kingdom was left in ruins, the curse waiting for another soul. Ezallora's nightmare was far from over. For a century, Ezallora languished, fractured into warring fiefdoms. The capital stood empty, the story of Theron and the crown a myth. Yet the curse lingered, poisoning the land.
In a remote village, Lyra came of age. An orphan, skilled and fiercely independent, haunted by dreams of a fallen city and a broken crown. On her 20th birthday, the village elder revealed her true lineage. She was the last descendant of Lord Kael. Her family had hidden for generations, protecting the bloodline. She was the heir to a shattered throne and a cursed legacy. The truth was a heavy burden. Her sadness and dreams finally made sense.
A prophecy survived. A child of Kael's line would return to face the crown of sorrows, to destroy or master it, and free Ezallora. The choice and the burden was now Lyra's.
Accepting her destiny, Lyra left her home behind, stepping into a world forever changed by the curse that had shattered Ezallora. The land was no longer the place of her childhood memories, but a realm of shadows and uncertainty, where every step forward was a test of her resolve. She saw villages ruled by fear, their people hiding behind locked doors, and bandits who preyed on the weak, turning the roads into gauntlets of danger. Despair clung to every corner, a living reminder of her family's failure to protect the realm and a burden she carried with every step.
Yet the hardships only hardened her spirit. Her journey forged her into a warrior, skilled, wary, and determined, learning to survive in the wild and to trust her instincts above all else. She fought warlords and beasts, twisted by corruption, each battle leaving its mark, but also making her stronger and more resolute in her quest.
She was no longer just Lyra the orphan. She was Lyra Eredor, heir to a broken legacy, coming to reclaim her kingdom's soul and restore hope to its people.
Along the way, she gathered unlikely allies, Gareth, an old knight clinging to honor and haunted by his own regrets, and Elara, a rogue seeking revenge for her lost family, whose skills and fierce loyalty would prove invaluable. Together, they became her family and council, sharing laughter and sorrow as they pressed on toward the ruined capital, united by a common purpose.
But the greatest challenge was within. Each night, the crown's whispers grew louder, tempting her with visions of power and preying on her deepest fears and insecurities. It promised she could fix everything, that all suffering would end, if only she claimed its power for herself.
The true battle would be fought not just with swords, but in her mind and heart, where doubt and hope waged war. The fate of Ezallora depended on her strength to resist the crown's lure and to choose a path that would heal, not destroy, her homeland.
The final destination was the capital, now the Crimson Citadel, guarded by the cult of the crown, zealots worshipping the broken artifact.
Lyra and her companions could not take the citadel by force. They planned a daring infiltration. Using secret tunnels and old knowledge, they navigated catacombs, evading traps and sentries as the crown's psychic pressure mounted.
Lyra fought the whispers, urging her to betray her friends and seize the crown. They reached the throne room, where the high priest awaited, ready to make Lyra the final sacrifice.
Battle erupted. Gareth held off guards, Elara struck from the shadows, and Lyra faced the high priest wielding dark magic. The duel raged around the throne, mirroring the war inside Lyra's soul as the crown screamed promises and threats. The cult was determined to defend the crown to the death. Lyra's resolve was tested to its limit. The fate of Ezallora hung in the balance.
Lyra struck down the high priest. Silence fell, heavy and absolute, as the echoes of steel faded into the darkness. The crowd, frozen in disbelief, watched as the old order crumbled before their eyes. The path to the crown of sorrows was clear, stretching before Lyra like a destiny she could not escape. Each step forward felt heavier, as if the weight of every lost soul pressed upon her shoulders. The whispers became a torrent, promising glory, healing, and power. They slithered into her mind, offering visions of a restored kingdom and her name sung for generations. Lyra's hand trembled, caught between hope and dread. The air around her seemed to pulse with the crown's dark promise, daring her to seize its power. The crown's power could restore Ezallora in an instant, but at a terrible cost. It offered salvation, but demanded a sacrifice that would haunt her forever.
Do not let it seduce you, my lady. It is a liar. The voices of those who cared for her rang out, desperate to pull her back from the brink.
Elara stood ready to stop her if she faltered, echoing the choice Lord Kael once faced. The fate of the realm balanced on a knife's edge, and history threatened to repeat itself. Lyra's final test: save her people or rule them. The choice was hers alone, and the world seemed to hold its breath. The crown offered a shortcut to damnation, its allure as deadly as any blade. She remembered the suffering she'd seen, the hope in her friend's eyes, and her ancestors' sacrifice. Their faces gave her strength, reminding her of what truly mattered. She was not Theron. She would not repeat his mistakes. Lyra's resolve hardened, her heart set on a different path.
With a cry of defiance, Lyra drew her ancestral sword and shattered the crown, breaking the cycle of darkness that had haunted her bloodline. A blinding flash, 1,000 souls crying out, and the obsidian gem turned to dust. The ancient curse screamed as it was torn apart. A wave of pure energy swept the hall, and for the first time in a century, sunlight pierced the gloom. Hope returned, fragile but real. The curse was broken, but the story was not yet over. Lyra's true reign and the trials of a new dawn were only just beginning.
The crown's destruction sent a shockwave across Ezallora. The mists receded, the land began to heal, and hope returned. Lyra became a symbol of the new dawn, ruling not as a conqueror, but as a restorer. With Gareth and Alara, she began the slow work of rebuilding, earning the title Lyra the Restorer. Old wounds healed slowly, but unity and peace grew. Yet, in quiet moments, Lyra felt a strange echo, a flicker of ambition, a desire for control sharper than her own. She dismissed it as stress, but the feeling persisted, a cold knot in her soul. One night, touching her sword, she felt a faint pulse, a whisper in her blood. A chilling thought took root. What if the curse had not ended, but merely found a new vessel? The crown was gone, but its will remained, now seated in her heart. Who is the true master of Ezallora's new age? The story of the Crown of Sorrows is not so easily ended.